Mitchell learned he'd been disowned, while his father stared at a yellow legal pad and refused to look up. The four of them sat around Isaac Mitchell's dining table on a cold April morning. Justin was 20, old enough to understand every word, and still young enough to keep waiting for somebody to say there had been a mistake. Jordan Ayala, the estate attorney, had finished reading the important parts of Isaac's will. The carnival company went to Jonathan. So did the storage land on Doty Road, the remaining equipment, the business accounts, and Isaac's house. Cindy received the household property. Her daughter Taylor received a cash gift. Justin received nothing. A wall clock clicked above the china cabinet. It had a little brass pendulum that Isaac used to wind every Sunday night. Justin watched it swing because looking at his family felt worse. Jordan set the papers down carefully. He was a calm man who spoke as if every sentence had been checked for loose parts. "That concludes the personal distributions," he said. Justin looked at him. "You skipped me?" Nobody answered at first. Taylor adjusted the cuff of her sweater. Cindy pressed both hands around her coffee mug, though the coffee had gone cold. Jonathan wrote something on the yellow pad, drew a line under it, and then drew another. Jordan's eyes moved toward Jonathan. "There isn't a distribution to Justin in this will." Justin gave a small laugh. It came out before he could stop it. "What does that mean?" "It means your grandfather didn't name you as a beneficiary under this document." "I know what the words mean." Jonathan finally put down his pen. "Then don't make Jordan repeat himself." Justin turned to him. "Grandpa left me out?" Jonathan rubbed his forehead. He looked tired rather than surprised, which told Justin that his father had known before that morning. "The will was signed years ago," Jonathan said. "Dad kept saying he needed to update things. He didn't." "When? What? When did he say that? I don't remember." "You just said he kept saying it." Cindy leaned forward. "Justin, your grandfather's been gone less than a month. Your father's trying to manage a company with debts nobody fully understood. This isn't the time to interrogate him." Justin looked at Jordan again. "Is there another paper?" Jordan didn't answer quickly enough. "A letter, maybe?" Justin asked. "Something in the office? I haven't found any separate instruction addressed to you. But you haven't finished going through everything. The estate inventory is still being prepared. So, there could be something. There could be additional records," Jordan said. "I don't want to give you false expectations." Cindy let out a quiet breath. Isaac ran out of time. "That's all this is?" Justin turned toward her. She softened her voice, which made the words land harder. "He didn't do this to hurt you. He left Taylor money." Taylor's face tightened. "Don't drag me into it." "I didn't. Grandpa did." "Justin," Jonathan warned. Taylor pushed her chair back an inch. "My name happened to be in the will. I didn't write it." Justin knew that. He also knew she had spent the previous week talking about paying off her car and moving into a better apartment. She hadn't known the amount then, but she'd known there was something. Everybody at the table had arrived prepared except him. Jordan closed the file. "There will be an auction of certain company property once the inventory is complete. That money will be used toward outstanding company obligations. I'll send notice to all interested parties." "Interested parties," Justin repeated. "That includes you." Cindy picked up her mug and carried it to the kitchen. The meeting was over because she had decided it was over. Justin remained seated. Isaac's place at the head of the table was empty. His reading glasses still rested on the windowsill beside a folded newspaper. Nobody had moved them. For one unhelpful second, Justin expected his grandfather to walk in from the back porch, complain that the room was too warm, and ask why everyone looked guilty. Jonathan gathered the papers. "Dad," Justin said. Jonathan stopped, but he didn't sit again. "Did Grandpa tell you he was leaving me out?" "No." "Did you ask him about me?" "Not everything was about you. I asked one question, and I answered it. No, you didn't." Jonathan glanced toward the kitchen. Cindy was standing at the sink with her back to them. She could hear every word. "Your grandfather and I had a difficult few years," Jonathan said. "The business took most of our conversations." Justin waited. "That's it? That's what happened." Jordan slipped the will into his case. He looked uncomfortable, but discomfort wasn't the same as help. Justin understood that too. Then Cindy returned with a dish towel folded over one hand. "There's something else we need to settle," she said. Jonathan's jaw moved. Cindy looked directly at Justin. "The house has to be prepared for sale," Jordan corrected her gently. "It isn't listed for sale yet. It will be." We can't maintain this house and everything on Doty Road. Justin stared at her. I've been maintaining it. You've been staying here. I buy groceries. I cut the grass. I took Grandpa to his appointments. That isn't what I meant. What did you mean? Cindy laid the dish towel beside the sink. You need to make other arrangements. Jonathan moved the yellow pad from one hand to the other. We can give you until Sunday. It was Thursday. Justin looked at his father for several seconds. Jonathan had always been good at making bad news sound like a schedule. When Melanie had divorced him, he had explained the new weekends to Justin using a printed calendar. When Melanie died in a car accident, Jonathan had discussed funeral clothes before he said her name. Now he was giving his son 3 days to leave the house, where he'd spent most of the past year caring for Jonathan's own father. Where am I supposed to go? You're 20, Cindy said. You work, some weeks. The hardware store gives you hours. Not enough for an apartment. Jonathan shoved the papers into a folder. We'll help with a motel for a few nights. Cindy looked at him. A few, Jonathan repeated. Justin stood. The chair legs scraped across the floor. He wanted to ask his father how much the company was worth. He wanted to ask why Taylor's future had been written down, while his was being placed in trash bags. Most of all, he wanted to know whether Isaac had really forgotten him. Instead, he said, Can I keep Grandpa's blue toolbox? Cindy's mouth tightened. Household property is part of the inventory. He gave it to me. Do you have that in writing? Jonathan said. Cindy, what? If we start letting things walk out because somebody remembers a conversation, there won't be an estate left. It's a toolbox, Justin said. It's not about the toolbox. No, it wasn't. Everybody in the room knew that. Justin went upstairs without saying goodbye. 3 weeks earlier, that same house had smelled like coffee, machine oil, and the menthol rub Isaac used on his hands. His heart had already begun failing, though nobody knew it. He still rose before sunrise and complained when Justin slept past 7. On the last Monday of Isaac's life, Justin found him at the kitchen counter trying to repair a coin mechanism from one of the old kiddie rides. You're putting the spring in backward, Justin said. Isaac didn't look up. Then come over here and be useful. Justin poured coffee into the chipped mug that said, World's Best Boss. Isaac had bought it for himself at a pharmacy sometime in the 90s. The handle had been glued twice. You know they sell new coin mechanisms, Justin said. They sell new furniture too. People still own screwdrivers. This thing ate quarters when I was little. It was teaching you about disappointment. It was very thorough. Isaac smiled. His hands were broad, scarred, and swollen at the knuckles. They had carved horses, rabbits, roosters, swans, and one deeply unfortunate lion that Elijah Watts still teased him about. Isaac could look at a square block of wood and see an animal waiting inside it. Justin had tried and usually saw a square block of wood with expensive mistakes coming. Isaac pushed the mechanism toward him. Hold that. Justin held the metal housing while Isaac fitted the spring. Outside, late snow had melted into gray patches along the driveway. 2 company trucks sat beside the garage. One hadn't moved since autumn. The red lettering on both doors was faded, but the words could still be read. Mitchell's Wonder Wheel, Carnival and Carousel Company, Woodstock, Illinois. Isaac had founded the business in 1974. At first, he repaired rides for traveling carnivals and county fairs. Later, he began building small carousels of his own. The company never became large, but people around northern Illinois knew his horses. They knew the high front knees, the deep-cut manes, and the small carved stars he hid beneath the saddles. Jonathan had grown up around the business and resented nearly every part of it. He disliked the winter repairs, the summer travel, and the way Isaac could praise a carved horse more easily than his own son. Still, he had returned when the company began losing contracts. He handled invoices, insurance, and equipment sales. Cindy called that rescuing the family business. Isaac called it learning which bills were real. Justin never knew which version to believe. He only knew that the Doty Road Yard had once felt like the best place in town. As a boy, he had followed Isaac between storage barns while dust floated through bars of sunlight. There were painted signs stacked against walls, ticket booths with cracked windows, old bulbs sorted into coffee cans, and ride parts that looked important, even when nobody remembered what they belonged to. Near the back of the main barn stood a small coin-operated carousel. It had a round metal base, a striped center pole, a scalloped canopy, and one wooden horse. Her name was Belle. Isaac had carved her in 1980, long before Justin was born. She was white with a blue saddle and red roses painted along her neck. When Justin visited the yard, Isaac sometimes plugged the carousel into an extension cord and let him ride without putting in a coin. Belle moved in a slow circle while a metal music box played the same tune again and again. Justin would hold the brass pole and watch Isaac work at a bench nearby. His grandfather never waved each time Belle came around. He only looked up long enough to make sure Justin was still there. After Melanie's death, those afternoons became more important. Justin was old enough to know Belle wasn't a real horse, and hurt enough not to care. Isaac would set a sandwich on the workbench, plug in the ride, and allow the music to fill the places where neither of them knew what to say. The flood came years later. Water pushed into the storage barn after heavy summer rain and sat there for days. The carousel's motor failed. Its metal base rusted until the rotating platform locked in place. Belle's paint lifted in pale curls, and mildew darkened the bottom of her legs. Jonathan wanted to scrap the whole unit. Isaac wouldn't let him. "She's wood on top of 300 pounds of bad decisions," Jonathan had said. "She stays," Isaac replied. That was the end of it while Isaac was alive. On that last Monday, Justin and his grandfather got the coin mechanism working. Isaac turned it over in his hand, then placed it on the table. "You going to Doty Road tomorrow?" he asked. "If Mr. Hanley doesn't put me on the afternoon shift, I need help moving some files." "Which files?" "The ones in the office. That narrows it down to all of them." Isaac looked toward the window. "There are things I should have handled sooner." Justin waited for him to continue. Isaac rubbed his thumb across the brass edge of the mechanism. He seemed to be choosing between words and finding fault with everyone. "Your mother asked me for help once," he said. Justin put down his mug. "When?" "After she and your father split." "What kind of help?" "Money. A place to stay for a while." Justin had never heard this. Melanie had spoken about Isaac with affection, though sometimes she went quiet after his name. "Did you help her?" "Not enough." The refrigerator motor clicked on. Isaac's gaze remained on the mechanism. "Why are you telling me now? Because things left too long don't improve on their own. That sounds like something you'd say about a roof. It applies to most things." Justin pulled out the chair across from him. "What happened?" Isaac opened his mouth, then pressed a hand against the center of his chest. Justin stood. "What's wrong?" "Indigestion. You look pale." "I'm 75. Pale comes with the package. Sit down." "I am sitting." Justin reached for his phone, but Isaac waved him off. It passed. "I'm calling somebody." "You're calling nobody. Hand me that small screwdriver." They argued for several minutes. Isaac finally agreed to let Justin drive him to a clinic if the pain returned. It didn't return that morning. By lunch, he was outside checking the oil in one of the trucks and telling Justin he worried too much. The next afternoon, Jonathan called while Justin was unloading bags of soil at the hardware store. Isaac had suffered a heart attack in the Doty Road office. Elijah found him on the floor beside a filing cabinet. The ambulance arrived quickly, but not quickly enough. For the rest of March, Justin moved through rooms where people lowered their voices around him. He wore a borrowed black jacket to the funeral. He shook hands with former employees, fair operators, mechanics, and people who owned Isaac's horses. They told him his grandfather had been stubborn, gifted, impossible, generous, cheap, loyal, and terrible at returning phone calls. Elijah Watts stood beside the casket longer than anyone. He was 57, with gray threaded through his beard and sawdust caught in the seams of his work boots. He had carved beside Isaac for 30 years. The two men could argue for an entire morning about the angle of a wooden ear, eat lunch in silence, and return to work as if nothing had happened. When Elijah came out of the funeral home, Justin was sitting on a low brick wall near the parking lot. Elijah sat beside him. He was going to the yard to move files, Justin said. He'd been saying that for weeks. Did he tell you why? No. I should have gone with him. He died from a heart attack, Justin. Not from carrying folders alone. Justin picked at a loose thread on his sleeve. He was trying to tell me something the day before. Elijah waited, but Justin couldn't explain it there. People were walking toward their cars. Cindy stood beneath the awning, accepting condolences, as if she had been assigned the position. Elijah rested his forearms on his knees. Isaac had a bad habit of starting important conversations in the middle. Did he finish them with you? Not often. That had been the closest thing to comfort anyone offered. Now, after the will reading, Justin stood in the upstairs bedroom and packed his clothes into 2 duffel bags. The room had belonged to Jonathan when he was young. Old nail holes remained above the desk, where posters had once hung. Isaac had never redecorated it. He had simply cleared 2 drawers and told Justin there was food downstairs. Justin opened the closet. His work boots were on the floor beside a cardboard box containing photographs, a winter coat, and several things that had belonged to Melanie. He carried the box to the bed and checked the bottom. He didn't trust Cindy not to call family memories estate property. A soft knock came at the open door. Jonathan stood in the hall. "You don't have to do all this today," he said. "You said Sunday. That's 3 days. I know how days work." Jonathan stepped into the room. "I'm trying to keep things from getting ugly." Justin folded a shirt and put it into the bag. "When would they get ugly?" "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Turn every sentence into a fight." Justin looked at him. "You sat downstairs while Cindy told me Grandpa ran out of time for me. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. She usually doesn't." Jonathan lowered his voice. "The company is in trouble. Dad borrowed against equipment. There are unpaid taxes, repair bills, insurance claims. The land looks valuable, but it comes with obligations. You heard a list of assets and decided we're all rich now. I didn't say that. You were thinking it." Justin zipped the first duffel. "What I was thinking was that my grandfather raised me more than you did, and somehow everybody got something except me." Jonathan's face hardened. "I'm still your father? That's not an answer. No, it's a fact." They stood across from each other in the room Jonathan had once slept in. For a moment, Justin saw how tired his father really was. There were gray patches at his temples, and one shirt button had been fastened through the wrong hole. Jonathan was frightened of the company debts. He was frightened Cindy would see that fear. He was frightened of being measured against Isaac and coming up short again. But fear didn't make him reach for his son. He put his hands in his pockets. "There will be things at the auction," he said. "Tools, furniture from the office. If there's something small you wanted, I could tell the auctioneer. Cindy said things can't walk out because of conversations. I said I'd speak to him." Justin sat on the edge of the bed. "Did Grandpa forget me?" Jonathan looked toward the window. "I don't know." It was the first honest answer he'd given all morning. By Sunday, Justin had moved into a weekly motel near the highway. The room had a sagging mattress, a microwave with one working button, and curtains that didn't quite meet in the middle. He paid for 4 nights with nearly everything in his checking account. The hardware store manager promised more shifts once spring deliveries picked up. Cindy sent a message asking whether he had taken a blue toolbox. Justin replied that he hadn't. She didn't ask where he was staying. A month passed before the auction notice arrived in a plain white envelope. Justin opened it during his lunch break behind the hardware store. The company name appeared across the top, followed by several pages of lots: trailers, generators, spare motors, ticket booths, office furniture, damaged signs, tools. The larger equipment had already attracted interest. Local operators wanted parts. Scrap dealers wanted metal. 2 collectors had called about the surviving carved horses, though most had been sold years earlier. Justin read the list twice. The final lot was described in 6 words: non-functional single-horse kiddie carousel, flood damaged. There was no photograph, but he didn't need one. He could see Belle turning beneath the striped canopy. He could hear the thin music box tune. He could see Isaac at the workbench, looking up each time she came around. The auction was scheduled for Saturday at the Doty Road Yard. Justin checked his wallet, then opened his banking app. After motel costs, food, and bus fare, he had $15 he could spend without missing his next room payment. He folded the auction notice and put it in his pocket. He had no truck, no workshop, and nowhere to store 300 pounds of rusted machinery. He couldn't repair the motor. He couldn't even say why owning Belle mattered when everything else had already been taken. Still, for the first time since the will reading, Justin knew exactly where he would be on Saturday morning. Saturday morning brought rain and 37 registered bidders. Justin arrived early enough to watch the auction crew roll open the main barn doors. Wet gravel pressed through the thin soles of his sneakers. Beyond the chain-link fence, the storage yard looked smaller than it had when he was young. The bright equipment was gone. So were most of the painted wagons. Empty patches of concrete showed where rides had stood for years. Grass had grown around stacks of bent railings. Water dripped from the roof of the office and struck a dented bucket beside the steps. A woman at the registration table asked for Justin's driver's license. "You'll need a bidder card. I only want the last lot." "You still need a card." She copied his information and handed him number 38. A red line across the bottom said all items had to be removed within 2 business days. Justin read it twice. 2 days? Unless the estate made a separate arrangement. "What happens if I can't move something?" "You'll be charged storage. After 10 days it can be treated as abandoned." He looked through the fence toward the main barn. The woman followed his eyes. "You buying one of the trailers?" "No, then you'll probably be fine." He tucked the bidder card under his jacket and entered the yard. Jonathan stood near the office with the auctioneer. He wore a company windbreaker and held a clipboard against his chest. Cindy was under a black umbrella beside him. Taylor had dressed for dry weather and was now trying to protect white shoes from the mud. Justin almost turned around. He had expected his family to be there. Expecting them hadn't made seeing them easier. Jonathan noticed him first. His eyes dropped to the bidder card. "You registered? I got the notice." "I know. I just didn't think you were buying anything." Cindy glanced at the envelope sticking from Justin's jacket pocket. "With what? Money?" Taylor looked away, but not before Justin saw the smile she was hiding. Jonathan lowered his clipboard. "What lot?" "The Carousel." For a second nobody spoke. Then Taylor said, "The flooded one?" Justin nodded. Cindy's expression changed from suspicion to something closer to relief. "You can't be serious." "Why?" "Because it's ruined. It's still being sold. To a scrap dealer, probably." Jonathan looked toward the barn. The motor sat underwater. The base is seized. "We tried moving it last fall, and one of the brackets tore loose. I'll deal with it." "You don't have a place to put it. I'll deal with that, too." Cindy shifted her umbrella as rain blew underneath it. "Justin, if this is some attempt to prove a point, don't. You'll spend more moving that thing than it could ever be worth. I'm not proving anything." "Then why are you here?" He looked at his father. "You said I could buy something small." Jonathan gave a tired laugh. "That isn't what I had in mind." The auctioneer called for bidders to gather beside the first row of equipment. People moved across the yard, pulling up hoods and opening umbrellas. Justin stepped away. Jonathan caught his arm. "Wait." Justin looked down at his father's hand. Jonathan released him. "If you're set on this, let me talk to the auctioneer." "About what?" "We could probably pull the lot. Give you the horse after the sale." Cindy turned sharply. "Jonathan, just the horse, not the base. The inventory's already filed. It's damaged property, and people are here to bid on it." Justin watched his father. A month earlier, Jonathan hadn't been willing to let him take a toolbox. Now, in front of bidders, he was offering to remove Belle from the sale. It might have been guilt. It might have been embarrassment. Justin couldn't tell. "If you give it to me," he said, "Cindy will say I stole it. I wouldn't say that. You asked if I stole the toolbox. I asked whether you took it. What's the difference?" Cindy's mouth tightened. Justin pulled the bidder card from under his jacket. "I'll buy it like everybody else." He joined the crowd before Jonathan could answer. The auction moved slowly at first. The auctioneer described each lot, while an assistant raised plastic covers from engines and opened trailer doors. Bidders asked practical questions. Did the generator run? Were titles available? Had the bearings on the food trailer been inspected? Justin stayed near the back. A pair of ride motors sold for $800. 3 ticket booths went to a carnival operator from Wisconsin. A scrap dealer bought 2 damaged loading platforms after a quick contest with a man who wanted the aluminum railings. Each sale removed another part of the place. Isaac had taught Justin to use the drill press beside the west wall. It sold with a rolling cabinet for $450. The red workbench where they repaired the coin mechanism sold for $200. A buyer pulled open its drawers, found several worn carving tools inside, and received them with the bench. Justin raised his card without thinking. The auctioneer had already said, "Sold." The buyer began closing the drawers. Justin went to him. "Excuse me." The man wore a tan raincoat and heavy glasses. "Yeah? Those carving tools in the top drawer, would you sell them separately?" "Haven't looked at them yet. They belong to my grandfather." The man studied him, then glanced toward the office. "You're Jonathan's boy?" "Justin. I bought 2 horses from Isaac years ago, a gray jumper and a black stander." Justin didn't know the terms well enough to answer. The man opened the drawer. There were 4 gouges, a wooden mallet, a sharpening stone, and a narrow knife with tape around its handle. "What can you give me?" he asked. Justin had $15. If he spent any of it, he couldn't bid on Belle. "Nothing today." The man looked at him again, then he took out the knife. "This one any good?" Justin recognized the tape. Isaac had wrapped the handle after it split. It was his favorite. "That wasn't my question. I think it's good." The man handed it to him. "Then keep it." Justin held the knife without closing his fingers around it. "I can pay you later." "No need." "Thank you." The man rolled the cabinet away. Justin slipped the knife into the inside pocket of his jacket. It rested there against the auction notice. By noon, the rain had weakened to a cold mist. Cindy and Taylor left after the office furniture sold. Jonathan stayed, checking lot numbers and signing release sheets. The final group entered the main barn. Belle stood in the darkest corner. The canopy had collapsed on one side. Its faded canvas hung in strips from a bent metal rim. The center pole leaned slightly. Rust covered the circular base and spread across the foot platform in rough orange scales. Belle herself looked worse than Justin remembered. Much of the white paint was gone from her back. One red rose remained near her shoulder, though half its petals had flaked away. Her blue saddle had faded almost gray. A crack ran through one rear hoof, and dirty watermarks climbed several inches up all 4 legs. Someone had tied a paper lot number around her neck with string. The auctioneer tapped the metal base with the toe of his boot. "Final item today. 1 coin-operated single-horse kiddie carousel. Flood-damaged and non-functional. No guarantee on the motor or electrical components. Buyer is responsible for removal." The crowd had thinned to fewer than 12 people. A man beside Justin whispered, "That's not a carousel. That's a lawn ornament with tetanus." His friend laughed. The auctioneer started at $100. Nobody raised a card. 50? Silence. 25? The scrap dealer folded his arms. The auctioneer looked toward Jonathan. Jonathan gave a small shrug. "Do I have $15? Justin raised his card. The auctioneer saw him and paused. Several bidders turned. Jonathan stood just outside the barn door. His face gave nothing away. $15 from bidder 38, the auctioneer said. "Do I have 20? The scrap dealer leaned toward his assistant. They discussed the weight of the base. Justin kept his card raised as if lowering it might cancel the bid. The auctioneer asked again. Nobody answered. $15, going once. The carousel gave a faint metal tick as rainwater fell from the damaged canopy. Going twice. Justin could feel his pulse behind his eyes. Sold for $15. The auctioneer pointed at him. Bidder 38. Somebody chuckled. Another man said, "Better him than me." Justin lowered his card. He had come prepared to spend every spare dollar he had. And now that he had, the decision frightened him more than he expected. Belle was his. So were the seized platform, the broken motor, the collapsing canopy, and the problem of getting all of it out of the barn by Tuesday afternoon. Jonathan walked over after the crowd moved away. "You made your point," he said. "I told you it wasn't a point. You spent your last $15 on junk. How do you know it was my last? Was it?" Justin untied the paper number from Belle's neck. Jonathan looked at the horse. For a moment, his irritation slipped. He placed one hand on the worn edge of the platform. "I rode this before you did," he said. Justin hadn't known that. "Grandpa made her when you were 5. "Yeah." "Did you name her?" Jonathan shook his head. "Dad did. Your grandmother wanted a daughter. They got me instead." He smiled once, but the smile didn't stay. Justin ran his thumb over the string from the lot number. "Why did you want to scrap her?" "Because I'm responsible for bills now. That doesn't answer it. It's the only answer that matters when people are owed money." Jonathan stepped onto the platform. Rust cracked under his shoe. "You have until Tuesday to move it. The buyer terms are strict. Could I leave it here a week? No. 3 more days? Cindy's already worried the sale wasn't clean because you bid. I registered like everyone else." "I know." "Then what's the problem?" Jonathan looked toward the yard entrance where bidders were loading their purchases. "The problem is that every choice involving you becomes an argument at home." Justin tied the string around his fingers until it pressed into the skin. "That sounds like your problem." "It becomes mine. Yes. It started as mine." Jonathan removed his hand from the platform. "Have it gone by Tuesday." He walked back to the office. Justin waited until the barn emptied, then he stepped over the damaged side rail and stood beside Belle. Up close, he could see deep cracks beneath the saddle. The wood near the brass pole had swollen. One glass eye was cloudy, and the other was missing. Someone had filled the empty socket with a wad of greasy cloth. He pulled the cloth out. The hollow behind it was shallow. Nothing waited there, except 2 dead beetles and a bent screw. Justin laughed under his breath. He wasn't sure what he had expected. He placed his palm against Belle's neck. The wood was cold. "All right," he said. "You're still leaving." The hardware store manager let him use the office phone during his afternoon break. Justin called 3 towing companies. The first wouldn't move carnival equipment. The second quoted more than $400. The third asked for measurements Justin didn't have. He called the only person who might understand what he had bought. Elijah answered over the sound of a power sander. "Watts Restoration. It's Justin." The sander stopped. "You all right?" "I bought Belle." There was a pause. "You bought what?" "The flooded Carousel." "At the auction." "The whole platform?" "Yes." "How much?" $15. Elijah made a noise that could have been a cough or a laugh. "I need to get it out by Tuesday." "With what truck?" "I was hoping you had an answer. I've got answers. You won't like most of them." "Do you have room?" "Not in the shop." Justin looked through the office window. His manager was restocking seed packets and pretending not to listen. "What about the equipment shed?" Justin asked. "That roof leaks." "So did the barn." "It's full." "With what?" "Work." Justin waited. Elijah sighed. "I've got a customer's rounding board, 2 outside row horses, a chariot side, and half a band organ in there. You said you were trying to save Grandpa's remaining horses. I said that when I had more floor, I can help clear it. You're working at a hardware store, not every hour." Elijah was silent long enough that Justin thought the call had dropped. Then he said, "Be at Doty Road, Monday at 8. Yes, bring gloves." "You'll take her?" "I'll look at what it takes to move her." "That isn't the same thing." "No, it isn't." Monday morning was clear and cold. Elijah arrived in a flatbed truck with a utility trailer, a floor jack, steel rollers, chains, blocks, and language he advised Justin not to repeat near polite company. The carousel had rusted to 2 anchor plates left in the barn floor. Elijah crouched beside the first one and scraped at it with a screwdriver. "Your grandfather told Jonathan to unbolt this after the flood. He didn't?" "Looks like he tried once." They worked for 3 hours. 1 bolt snapped, another turned halfway and locked. Elijah heated the worst bracket with a torch while Justin held a shield against Belle's legs. The smell of hot rust filled the barn. At noon, the base shifted less than an inch and dropped hard onto the jack. Justin grabbed the center pole. "Don't hold that," Elijah snapped. "If the canopy comes down, let it come down. It'll hit her. It'll hit you first." They reset the jack and added blocks. Elijah showed Justin where to place his hands and where never to stand. On the next attempt, the base lifted high enough for Justin to slide a steel roller beneath it. By late afternoon, they had the carousel on the utility trailer. Jonathan watched from the office steps. He didn't offer to help, but he brought out 2 bottles of water and set them on the truck bumper. Elijah tightened the last chain. "You kept the horse," Jonathan said to him. "Justin kept the horse. You know what I mean." Elijah stood. "Usually?" Jonathan looked at Belle beneath the straps. "Dad wouldn't let us cut her loose from the base. Then it's good nobody did. The base is scrap. Most things are, if that's the only use you know." Jonathan's face closed. Justin expected another argument, but Elijah checked the chain and walked around the trailer. He had no interest in helping Jonathan feel misunderstood. They reached Elijah's property after dark. His workshop stood behind a small house west of town. 2 long sheds bordered a gravel drive. Light shone through the workshop windows. A hand-painted sign beside the door read, "Watts Carousel Restoration." The one corner had broken away. Elijah's business wasn't a hobby. He repaired damaged figures for museums, private collectors, small amusement parks, and anyone patient enough to wait. Orders filled a corkboard beside his desk. So did overdue notices. Isaac's death had cost Elijah a partner, but it had also left 3 unfinished jobs that clients still expected him to complete. He opened the smaller shed and began moving things. Justin carried boxes of sandpaper, clamps, and jars of old hardware into the workshop. Together, they shifted the painted chariot side against a wall and covered it with canvas. The band organ pieces stayed where they were. "That's all the room she gets," Elijah said. It was barely enough. They backed the trailer to the shed and used the rollers again. The carousel resisted every foot. One wheel on the moving dolly bent sideways. The base slipped, struck the threshold, and threw Justin against the doorframe. Pain ran through his shoulder. Elijah killed the winch. "You hurt?" "No." "That means yes. It means keep going." Elijah looked at him, then restarted the winch. When the platform finally crossed the threshold, Justin stood inside the crowded shed and guided Belle beneath the hanging light. Her nose stopped inches from a shelf of paint cans. Elijah closed the door against the cold. "Temporary," he said. "I know. You can't live in here. I know. You can work off the space by helping with paying jobs." Justin flexed his sore shoulder. "Fine. And you don't touch any painted surface until I show you how to clean it. I've cleaned things before. Not an undocumented carving with original paint." Justin looked at Belle. "You think any of that paint is original?" "Some of the roses might be." Elijah switched on a second light and moved closer. For the first time that day, he studied the horse instead of the machinery under her. He checked the cut of the mane, the curve beneath the jaw, and the small star hidden behind the saddle blanket. His fingers stopped at a line along Belle's left flank. "What?" Justin asked. Elijah didn't answer. He fetched a soft brush and cleared dirt from the wood. A thin seam appeared beneath the remaining white paint. It curved behind the saddle, too regular to be a crack and too uneven to be part of the original carving. Justin touched it. Elijah caught his wrist. "Don't press. You said the wood was solid. It should be." He tapped Belle's right side with one knuckle. The wood answered with a dense, quiet sound. Then he tapped the left flank. The sound was hollow. Justin looked at him. Elijah brushed the seam again, following it downward until it disappeared beneath a painted rose. "I worked beside Isaac for 30 years, he said. "He never built a panel there. Could somebody have repaired it? Not this way. What way?" Elijah leaned close to the horse and pointed toward a small circle hidden in the rose's dark center. It looked like part of the flower until the light caught the grain. "That's a wood plug," he said, "and somebody wanted it missed." Justin lowered his hand. "How do we take it out?" "We don't. Not tonight. You just found it." "I found a plug. I don't know what it's holding together." Elijah ran his thumb near the edge without touching the center. "If that panel was fitted after the horse was carved, the paint may be hiding fasteners. If we force it, we could split the flank. What if something's inside? Then it's been there this long." Justin looked toward the workshop door. "Do you have a drill?" Elijah gave him a flat look. That was a question. It was a bad question. Elijah covered Belle with a cotton sheet and turned off the light. Justin followed him into the workshop, where a half-restored carousel horse lay on a padded stand. The horse had no front legs. Its detached head rested nearby, giving the room an unpleasant feeling after dark. Elijah opened a refrigerator under the workbench and handed Justin a bottle of water. "You start at 9 tomorrow," he said. "At the hardware store? Here. I have a shift. Then start when you finish. To open the panel, to clean flood residue from the base. Belle isn't going anywhere, and neither is that plug." Justin took out his phone and photographed the seam through the shed window. The glass reflected his face over Belle's body, making the picture almost useless. Did Grandpa ever hide things in his carvings? Tool marks, dates, initials. Anything inside them? Not that I saw. Could he have made Belle hollow in the first place? Her body has always been built from joined blocks. That isn't unusual. But hollowing part of the flank and sealing it again would be a lot of work. For what? That's the question. Justin didn't sleep much at the motel. Rainwater had stained the ceiling above his bed. Every few minutes, tires hissed along the highway outside. He kept thinking about Isaac at the kitchen table, saying there were things he should have handled sooner. By morning, Justin had convinced himself the cavity held nothing important. It might contain a repair block. It might be empty space left after rot was removed. It might be an old note from a previous restoration, although Elijah insisted nobody else had restored Belle. At the hardware store, Justin stacked bags of mulch and checked the time whenever he passed the paint desk. His manager noticed, "You have somewhere better to be?" "I bought a carousel." The manager stopped cutting a key. "You bought a what?" "It's small." That doesn't make the sentence better. Justin told him about the auction and asked whether he could trade his Friday shift for an extra closing shift the following week. The manager agreed, mostly because he wanted to see a photograph. After work, Justin rode 2 buses and walked the last mile to Elijah's property. The cotton sheet was still over Belle. Elijah had set out a bucket, mild cleaning solution, brass brushes, steel wool, and several labeled trays. You said we were opening the panel. I said no such thing. You made me start at 9. You started at 6. I came from work. Then your ears should be awake. Elijah pointed to the rusted base. Loose scales first. Keep everything away from the painted wood. For 2 hours, they cleaned the platform. Justin scraped rust while Elijah worked on a customer's horse in the main shop. Dust settled into Justin's hair and inside his collar. The seized platform slowly showed patches of dark metal beneath the orange crust. At 8, Elijah inspected the work. You missed the inside lip. I was saving it. For somebody with better knees? Justin knelt again. Elijah returned carrying a narrow wooden case. He placed it on a clean table and opened it. Inside were small carving tools wrapped in cloth. Justin took Isaac's tape knife from his jacket. The man who bought Grandpa's bench gave me this. Elijah held out his hand. He turned the knife beneath the light, then tested the edge against his thumbnail. Isaac used this to cut stop lines around painted details. Can we use it on the plug? Not until it's sharpened. Elijah sat at the bench and worked the blade across a stone. The motion was slow and even. Justin cleaned the inside lip of the base without being reminded again. When the knife was ready, Elijah removed the cotton sheet. He examined the seam through a magnifying lens. Then he cleaned the plug with a swab dampened in mineral spirits. The dark center of the painted rose lightened. A tiny notch appeared along one edge. That's not part of the grain, Justin said. No. Elijah used the tip of the knife to clear old wax from the notch. A thin circle separated from the flower around it. Isaac sealed this after the last coat of paint, Elijah said. How can you tell? The wax is over the varnish. And see that shallow cut? Justin leaned closer. His knife pulled slightly left at the end of a curve. Always did after he injured his thumb. When? 3 summers ago. That placed the work long after the flood. Isaac hadn't been repairing old damage. He had returned to Belle and deliberately changed her. Justin's hands went cold. Elijah must have seen it. A hidden space doesn't promise anything, he said. I know. No, you don't. You're already spending what might be in there. I'm not spending anything. You're looking at it like an answer. Justin stepped back. Open it. Elijah fitted the knife into the notch and turned gently. The plug didn't move. He tried a thin awl, then warmed the painted area with a small lamp. After several minutes, a line of softened wax appeared around the plug. He worked the awl beneath the edge. The plug came free with a quiet pop. Behind it was a narrow wooden pin. Elijah pulled the pin with pliers. Something shifted inside Belle's flank. The curved panel didn't swing open. It moved outward less than the width of a coin. Justin took hold of the lower edge. Slow, Elijah said. Together they eased it free. The panel was no larger than a dinner plate and nearly 2 inches thick. Its edges had been cut to follow Belle's grain. On the inside, Isaac had carved a small star. The cavity behind it was black. Elijah shone a flashlight inside. A cloth bundle sat at the bottom. Justin reached toward it. Gloves, Elijah said. Justin put on clean cotton gloves and removed the bundle. The cloth had once been part of a blue shop towel. Waxed thread held it shut. Inside were 2 things. The first was a brass token, heavier than an ordinary arcade coin. One side carried the old company initials. The other was stamped with a date, 6/17/23. The second was a torn corner from a cream-colored document. It showed part of a notary seal, the edge of a legal description, and 3 typed words. Property on Clay Street. Justin turned it over. The back was blank. That's it? Elijah aimed the light into the cavity again. That's it. Justin checked the folds of the cloth. Nothing else was hidden there. What kind of document is this? Looks heavier than normal paper. I mean, what did it come from? Elijah took off his glasses and cleaned them. Could be a contract. Could be a title record. There's a notary stamp. That doesn't make it a deed. But it could be. It could be a corner torn from Isaac's dentist bill if the dentist liked expensive paper. Justin held it beneath the bench light. The legal description ended after part of a word. No owner's name remained. No street number. The notary seal showed only a border and 2 letters. Why hide a useless corner? Elijah looked at the token, because it wasn't meant to be the whole message. The following morning, Justin called Sophia Torres. She answered on the 4th ring. "Justin, is everything all right? I found something in Bell." There was silence. "You found what?" He told her about the panel, the brass token, and the torn paper. Sophia asked him to repeat the date. June 17th, 2023. Another pause followed. "Bring it to me," she said. Sophia lived in a brick duplex near the town square. She opened the door before Justin reached the porch. Her silver hair was pinned back, and reading glasses hung from a cord around her neck. Elijah had driven him there, but remained in the truck. Sophia waved toward him. "He can come inside." The dining room table was already covered with boxes. Sophia had spent weeks sorting duplicate invoices and payroll files that Jordan didn't need for the estate inventory. She placed the token on a clean sheet of paper. "I ordered these," she said. Justin pulled out a chair. "These exact tokens? A few hundred of them. Isaac used to hand them out at fairs. 1 free ride, though the machines didn't always accept them properly. This one has a date. I see that." "Did you stamp it?" "No. Our tokens had the company name on both sides. Isaac must have changed this one." Elijah set the torn document beside it. Sophia adjusted her glasses and leaned over the paper. Her fingers stopped on the edge of the notary seal. "Do you recognize it?" Justin asked. "No. You looked like you did." "I recognize the paper." "From what?" "Legal files Jordan prepared for Isaac sometimes use this stock." Justin sat straighter. "What legal files?" "Business transfers, equipment sales, land matters." "Did the company own anything on Clay Street?" Sophia moved to one of the boxes and opened a ledger. "The company didn't." "You're sure?" "I kept the property schedule for 32 years. "What about Grandpa?" "Isaac owned this house, the yard, and a small parcel near Marengo that he sold a long time ago. Nothing on Clay Street. Not that I knew about." Justin looked at Elijah. The answer should have reduced the possibilities. Instead, it created more. "Why would he hide this in Bell?" Justin asked. Sophia sat across from him. "When did he make the panel?" Elijah answered. "No, earlier than 2022. "The cut tells me that. The token narrows it further." Sophia touched the stamped date. "I saw Isaac that morning." Justin waited. "He came to my house with coffee. He wanted copies of old payment records involving Melanie." Justin's chair creaked beneath him. "My mother?" He asked how much she'd received from the company after the divorce. "Why would the company pay her?" "It didn't. That was what he wanted confirmed." "What did you tell him?" "The truth. There were no payments." Justin looked from Sophia to Elijah. "What does that have to do with Clay Street?" "I don't know." "Did he say why he wanted the records?" Sophia removed her glasses. "He said he was checking whether he remembered things correctly. Your grandfather didn't like to admit when guilt had been keeping him awake." "What guilt?" Sophia's eyes moved to the boxes. She had protected Isaac's privacy while he was alive. Some habits outlasted the people they were meant to protect. "Your mother came to him after the divorce," she said. "She was behind on rent. Jonathan wasn't paying what he'd promised on time, and she needed help." Justin heard Isaac's voice at the kitchen table. "Not enough." "What did Grandpa do?" "He gave her money once. Then he told her he couldn't keep stepping into trouble between her and Jonathan." "Why not?" "Because Jonathan accused him of taking her side." "He was taking her side. He should have." Sophia said it without defending him. She asked Isaac if she and you could stay in his house for a few months. He said no. He thought it would destroy whatever relationship he had left with your father. Justin looked down at the token. "Mom never told me. She was proud. She had to move twice that year." "I know." The room went quiet. Elijah pulled out the chair beside Justin and sat down. Sophia folded her hands. After Melanie died, Isaac began putting money aside. Small amounts at first. He called it a reserve. "I thought it was for your education or emergencies." "What happened to it?" "I don't know. In 2019, he moved the balance into his personal account. It was his money, properly recorded. He told me not to list it among the company reserves again." "How much?" "Enough that I asked what he was doing, and he said he was finally taking care of something he should have done before." Justin's mouth felt dry. "Did you tell Jordan?" "There was nothing improper to report. It wasn't company money by then. What did Grandpa buy? I don't know that he bought anything. The paper says property. A torn corner says property. We need to be careful. Justin pushed back from the table and walked to the window. Elijah's truck sat at the curb. Across the street, somebody rolled a trash bin toward a garage. It was an ordinary weekday, and Justin had begun it with nowhere permanent to live. Behind him, Sophia opened another box. Isaac came back here in the autumn of 2023, she said. He asked whether old legal records would remain valid if nobody found the copies. Justin turned around. What did you say? I told him to speak to Jordan. Did he? He said Jordan had already done his part. Elijah leaned forward. What else? Sophia searched through a stack of appointment calendars. She found the one she wanted and opened it near the middle. I wrote down his exact words because they worried me. She turned the calendar toward Justin. Beside the stamped date, in Sophia's neat handwriting, was a sentence. Making it right, but not the way they'd expect. Justin read it twice. Who was they? He didn't say. Did he mention Bell? No. The office? No. Clay Street? Never. Sophia closed the calendar. I should have pressed him, she said. I thought he had more time. Justin returned to the table and placed the brass token on the written sentence. The date matched. His grandfather had carved a hidden compartment into Bell, sealed a clue inside it, and then asked questions about whether legal records could survive without their copies. None of it was an accident. None of it told Justin what to do next. Sophia watched him gather the token and torn paper. What are you going to do? Find out what was on the rest of this page. How? Justin looked toward Elijah. Elijah sighed. First, we find somebody who can tell us exactly what kind of horse we opened. Amanda Page arrived the following Thursday, carrying 2 camera cases and a folding examination lamp. She parked beside the shed, checked the hand-painted business sign, and knocked on the workshop door with one knuckle. Elijah had warned Justin that she disliked surprises, guesses presented as facts, and coffee offered in dirty mugs. The mugs had been washed twice. Amanda stepped inside. She was 53 with short brown hair and a canvas vest full of pencils, rulers, and small tools. The Regional Carousel Heritage Guild paid her to document surviving figures across the Midwest. Museums called her when ownership histories became confused. Collectors called her before spending more money than they wanted their spouses to know about. She set her cases on the bench. Where is she? Elijah pointed toward the shed. Amanda looked at him. You stored her in there? It was that or his motel room. Justin opened the shed door. Amanda stopped on the threshold. She didn't comment on the rusted base or collapsed canopy. Her attention went directly to Belle's face. She walked around the platform once, then again in the opposite direction. Don't tell me what you think yet, she said. I haven't said anything, Justin replied. You were about to. He had been. Amanda set up the examination lamp. She photographed Belle from both sides, then measured the body, neck, legs, and saddle. She removed a magnifying lens from her vest and studied the carving beneath the jaw. Elijah stood near the door with his arms folded. You've seen her before, Amanda said. Many times. When? Starting around 1995. Isaac had her in the main barn by then. Did you work on her? Electrical repairs, never the wood. Amanda looked at Justin. And you? I wrote her. That isn't restoration work. I know. You opened the panel, with him. Before or after you called me? Before. She wrote something in a notebook. Was that wrong? It would have been better to document the seal first. We didn't know what it was. That's usually why documentation matters. Elijah shifted against the wall. The plug was waxed. I saved it. The pin, the wrapping cloth, and every loose piece. Amanda looked toward him. Of course you did. That sounded almost kind. Don't get used to it. She spent nearly an hour on Belle's left flank. She photographed the cavity from several angles and examined the small star Isaac had carved inside the panel. Then she asked to see the brass token and torn paper. Justin brought them from a locked drawer in Elijah's desk. Amanda photographed those too, though she made clear that she wasn't authenticating legal documents. I evaluate the horse, she said, not whatever family argument climbed out of her. There isn't an argument yet, Justin said. Elijah gave a quiet cough. Amanda glanced at him. There will be. She returned to Belle's face and cleaned a narrow patch below the mane. beneath the grime, a shallow curved cut appeared. "What is that?" Justin asked. "A layout line." "Grandpa left those?" Isaac Mitchell did on his early work. He marked his curves with a shop-made compass and didn't always remove the full line. "You've examined his other horses?" 16 that we can document, possibly 4 more. Elijah unfolded his arms. "You found the chestnut pair from Kenosha? One of them. The second was destroyed in a warehouse fire." Amanda pointed toward the remaining rows on Belle's neck. "This flower pattern appears on a jumper he finished in 1981. Same 5-petal arrangement, same double cut around the leaves. But this one is earlier? How do you know?" "The cuts are deeper and less controlled." Isaac improved quickly. Elijah smiled. He hated those leaves. He should have. "The lower one is crooked." Justin leaned closer. He had seen the rows hundreds of times. He had never thought of it as evidence. Amanda moved to Belle's rear legs. She found the small carved star beneath the edge of the saddle blanket and measured it. "His later stars had 6 points," she said. Elijah nodded. 5 until about 1984. Amanda checked her notes. "Your company records don't mention this figure." "Sophia couldn't find anything," Justin said. "That doesn't surprise me. Small coin rides were often treated as equipment rather than named carousel figures. Some builders didn't photograph them. Does that mean you can't authenticate her?" "It means I don't authenticate from one missing invoice." She opened her second case. Inside were printed photographs in clear sleeves. Several showed restored carousel horses from different collections. Others showed close views of ears, hooves, mouths, and carved decorations. Amanda placed 3 photographs beside Belle. The resemblance wasn't vague. The horses had the same slight notch where the upper lip met the jaw. Their ears angled outward in the same uneven way. Each mane ended with a narrow curl near the shoulder. "These are confirmed Mitchell figures," she said. The gray was signed. The black horse appears in a dated company photograph with Isaac standing beside it. The third retains an original shipping label. She pointed at Belle's mouth. Same lower lip, same shallow drill opening, same chisel width inside the nostril. Elijah stepped beside her. "And the main termination." "I saw it. You didn't say it. I was getting there." Justin watched them move around Belle. For the first time since buying her, he wasn't defending the carousel as something he loved. He didn't need to. The marks in the wood existed whether anybody understood his reasons or not. Amanda asked for the plug. Elijah handed it to her in a clear bag. She examined the cut around its edge, then the back of the hidden panel. "This work is much later." "We know," Elijah said. "The tool pressure is inconsistent. Arthritis probably, but the hand is the same." Justin looked at her. "You can tell Grandpa made the cavity? I can tell the panel was cut by someone using methods consistent with his late work. Elijah's direct knowledge matters more than mine on that point." Elijah lifted Belle's saddle blanket edge and showed Amanda a repaired line near the girth. "Isaac recut this in 2022, he said. Same hesitation at the end. Amanda compared the marks. He made both cuts with a narrow knife. "The taped knife is on my bench." She examined that too. Isaac's initials were stamped into the handle beneath the tape. At last, Amanda removed her gloves. "I'm comfortable identifying Belle as an original Isaac Mitchell, carving from around 1980. She appears to be previously undocumented. The surviving paint deserves laboratory review, but at least part of it may be original." Justin looked at the rusted platform. "What does that make her worth?" Amanda closed her notebook. "That depends on what you do next." "That sounds like avoiding the question. It's answering the real one. If you strip the paint, sand away tool marks, and replace the damaged wood without documenting it, you could cut her value in half. If Elijah stabilizes her properly and the history can be established, private collectors will be interested. How interested? As she stands, including the damaged ride base, perhaps several $1,000s. Properly conserved, with her authorship published and her unusual history attached, likely well into 5 figures. Justin thought he had misunderstood. For one horse? For an undocumented Mitchell carving with strong provenance. The carousel cost $15. Amanda's expression barely changed. Auction prices tell you who attended an auction. They don't always tell you what was sold. Elijah sat on a stool. He seemed pleased, though not surprised enough for Justin's liking. "You knew," Justin said. "I suspected." You let me scrape rust for a month without saying she could be worth that much? You needed to learn how not to destroy her. Amanda walked around the platform again. The guild is preparing an online record of regional builders. With your permission, I'd like to include Belle. What would that involve? Photographs, measurements, ownership history, and a note about the later compartment. We wouldn't publish the document fragment or token without your consent. Would people know I own her? Your name could be listed, or the owner could remain private. Justin looked toward Elijah. Don't look at me, Elijah said. She asked you. It was the first decision about Belle that carried weight beyond keeping her from scrap. Publication would help establish what she was. It would also tell collectors and anyone connected to the company that the $15 carousel mattered. How long before it goes online? Justin asked. A preliminary finding could be posted tomorrow. List my name. Elijah's eyebrows rose. Amanda waited. You're sure? I bought her legally. I'm not hiding that. She nodded and wrote his answer down. Before leaving, Amanda photographed Justin beside Belle. He stood with one hand on the brass pole and felt awkward the entire time. The preliminary notice appeared on the guild's website the next afternoon. Previously undocumented Isaac Mitchell carving identified in Woodstock collection. Amanda described Belle's construction, surviving paint, and connection to the Mitchell Company. She called the hidden panel an unusual late modification, consistent with Isaac's own hand. She didn't mention what had been found inside it. By evening, 3 people had contacted Elijah. The first wanted restoration photographs. The second owned another Mitchell horse and asked whether Belle had a matching figure. The third was a collector from Indiana, offering $12,000 before restoration, provided Justin could prove clear ownership. Justin read the email at Elijah's desk. $12,000, he said. That was quick. I could leave the motel. You could pay rent somewhere for a while. I could buy a truck. You could buy part of a bad truck. Justin read the offer again. $12,000 was more money than he had ever controlled. It was enough to remove several immediate problems. That made the decision harder, not easier. What would you do? He asked. Elijah sharpened a gouge at the other bench. Wrong question. Why? Because I have a workshop and a house. You have 4 nights paid at a motel, so you think I should sell. I think pretending our choices cost the same would be dishonest. Justin closed the email. The collector called the workshop the next morning. His name was Martin Kessler, and he spoke with the quick confidence of someone used to solving uncertainty with a price. I can arrange transport, Martin said. No cost to you. I'd keep Elijah on for the wood restoration if he's available. What about the platform? I don't need it. It stays with Belle. There was a pause. The metal base is badly damaged. I know. It adds transport cost and has very little collectible value. It's her carousel. Elijah tells me the mechanism may not be salvageable. Elijah, standing across the room, shook his head. He hadn't told Martin anything. Justin said, I'm not selling her. Is that final, or do you need a better number? It's final for now. Martin's voice remained pleasant. If circumstances change, call me before you begin major restoration. After the call, Justin looked at Elijah. He lied about talking to you? Collectors like certainty. When they don't have it, some make their own. Does 12,000 sound right? It sounds like he thinks she's worth more. Justin put Amanda's printed report into a folder with the photographs of the cavity. That afternoon, Jonathan's truck pulled into the gravel drive. He got out alone. Elijah was in the main shop fitting a replacement ear to a customer's horse. Justin was cleaning the carousel's coin, housing beside the open shed door. Jonathan walked toward Belle slowly. I saw the article, he said. Most people start with hello. Hello? Justin kept cleaning. Jonathan stopped beside the platform. You had her appraised without telling us. She belongs to me. That's not what I asked. You didn't ask anything. Jonathan looked into the shed. The hidden panel had been replaced loosely to protect the opening. A small strip of conservation tape marked its edge. What happened there? Old damage. The lie came easily enough to worry Justin. Jonathan touched the side rail. Cindy thinks the auction company made an error. They called the lot. I bid. Nobody else did. They describe Belle as damaged equipment. She is damaged equipment. Not if the carving has separate value. They sold the whole carousel. Jonathan rubbed the back of his neck. I'm not accusing you of anything. You drove out here. I'm concerned. You don't have money for restoration. You don't have insurance. If somebody steals the horse, what then? Justin placed the cleaned coin plate on a cloth. I'll manage it. Have you found a buyer? No. Did Amanda give you a written value? Yes. Jonathan waited for more. Justin didn't provide it. What's inside the panel? Jonathan asked. The question was quiet. Justin's hand stopped. How do you know it opens? The article says late modification. It doesn't say compartment. No. But Dad didn't make decorative changes without a reason. Jonathan looked at Belle's flank. He had grown up in the same barns. He knew Isaac's habits better than Justin sometimes remembered. Was there something in it? Justin folded the cleaning cloth once, then again. Why do you care? Because Dad left the company in debt, and now an item from that company turns out to be valuable. You sold it. For $15. That was the winning bid. Jonathan's eyes moved toward Elijah's office, where the folder containing Amanda's report sat on the desk. Justin stepped between him and the door. Jonathan noticed. Cindy wants to talk about buying it back, he said. She called it junk. She didn't know what it was, neither did I. That's exactly the problem. Jonathan walked back to his truck without asking again. He didn't know about the token or Clay Street. Justin was sure of that. But he knew something had changed, and he had come to measure how much. Justin waited until the truck disappeared down the road. Then he went into the office and took the brass token from the locked drawer. He turned it under the desk lamp. The old company initials were worn smooth on one side. The stamped date remained sharp on the other. Behind him, Elijah entered carrying a box of original Mitchell records Amanda had asked to inspect. A photograph slid from the top and landed face up. It showed Isaac in the Doty Road office, standing beside the tall filing cabinet where Elijah had found him after the heart attack. A black combination padlock hung from the upper handle. Justin looked at the token, then at the lock in the photograph. Did Grandpa use dates for combinations? Elijah set down the box. For every lock he was afraid he'd forget. Elijah reached for the token. 6, 17, 23, he said. That gives us 3 numbers. Justin looked at the photograph again. We need to get into that office, not by ourselves. They called Sophia first. She listened, asked them not to touch the lock, and then called Jordan. By noon, Jordan had given her permission to inspect the old bookkeeping files for anything relevant to the estate inventory. He sent the permission in writing and copied Jonathan. Jonathan replied with one sentence. The office key is under the yard account book at Sophia's house. Sophia found it exactly where Isaac had left it years earlier. They met at Doty Road the next morning. The yard gate was locked, but Sophia had that key too. She parked beside the office while Elijah backed in near the steps. Inside, the air smelled of wet ceiling tile and mouse droppings. Isaac's desk had been emptied for the auction. Pale rectangles showed where pictures and calendars had hung. The bucket beneath the roof leak was nearly full. The filing cabinet stood against the back wall. Justin stopped several feet from it. This was where Isaac had died. A dark mark on the floor showed where Elijah's dropped coffee had spread after he found him. Elijah noticed Justin looking. He was beside the desk, he said, not in front of the cabinet. Justin nodded. It didn't help much, but he was glad for the truth. Sophia checked the cabinet drawers. The lower ones opened. They held old fuel receipts, ride inspection forms, and copies of contracts. The top drawer remained secured by the black combination lock. Elijah turned the dial 3 times to the right. 6, then left, past 6 to 17, then right to 23. The shackle released. Nobody spoke. Elijah removed the lock and placed it on top of the cabinet. Justin pulled the drawer open. Inside were 3 hanging folders and a long white envelope. The first folder contained insurance records for the company house. The second held old photographs of Belle. In one, Isaac stood beside the finished horse in a work apron. On the back, he had written, Belle, 1980. The third folder was labeled Clay Street. Justin lifted it out with both hands. Sophia came around the desk. Elijah remained beside the cabinet. The first page was titled, Irrevocable Property Trust. Justin understood the individual words, but together they seemed too formal to belong to him. He found his name on the second page. Justin Mitchell, sole beneficiary. The document had been signed and notarized in 2019. Jordan Ayala's name appeared beneath a section identifying him as the attorney who prepared it. Justin read the paragraph twice. What does sole beneficiary mean here? Sophia adjusted her glasses. It means the trust was created for you. What trust? The one holding whatever property is listed in the schedule. They turned to the next section. A street address appeared near the top. 612 Clay Street, Woodstock, Illinois. Behind the trust agreement was a recorded deed carrying the same address. A county stamp showed that it had been filed in 2019. Isaac's name appeared as the person transferring the property into the trust. Justin lowered the page. He owned a house. It appears the trust owns it, Sophia said. For me. That's what the document says. Why wasn't it in the will? Because it may not have belonged to Isaac's estate when he died. Elijah pulled out the chair behind the desk. Sit down. Justin didn't. How much is owed on it? Sophia searched the folder. She found a closing statement and a letter confirming the release of a mortgage that had been paid during the purchase. Nothing, from the look of this. You're saying he bought a house and paid for all of it. I'm saying these papers indicate that. Jordan needs to confirm them. Justin looked at the address again. He knew Clay Street, but not the house. It ran through an older neighborhood north of the square, with narrow lots and detached garages. He had probably passed the property without noticing it. The white envelope remained in the drawer. His name was written across the front in Isaac's hand. Justin sat down then. The seal opened cleanly. Inside were 4 folded pages dated the same day Isaac had altered the token. Justin, if you found this, then Belle still knows how to bring you home. Justin stopped. Elijah turned away and looked through the office window. Sophia placed one hand on the back of a chair. Justin continued. I bought the Clay Street house 3 years after your mother died. I should have helped her when she came to me. I let pride between your father and me matter more than the 2 people who needed a door opened. I cannot change that. The house is paid for. Jordan put it into a trust for you. It becomes yours to use after my death. It does not pass through my will or through the company. I did not leave these papers in my house because Cindy goes through everything, and Jonathan lets peace in his marriage decide too many things. If they learned about the house while you were still depending on them, I feared they would pressure you to sign, borrow against it, sell it, or call surrendering it a family duty. They may say the company needs it. The company has already taken enough from this family. Justin looked toward the door, as if Cindy might be outside it. Sophia said, Keep reading. He did. Your mother needed a safe place, and I denied her one. This house cannot undo that. It can only be the door I should have opened. I hid the clue in Belle because you loved her before anybody told you what things were worth. Elijah will know my hand. Sophia will know why I carried the shame. Jordan will know the law. Do not trust one piece alone. Put them together. You do not owe the company this house. You do not owe me gratitude for doing late what I should have done sooner. Make a decent life there. That will be enough? Grandpa Justin placed the letter on the desk. For several minutes, the only sound was water dripping into the bucket. He knew Cindy would take the house, Justin said. Sophia answered carefully. He feared she would try to control what happened to it. That's a polite way to say the same thing. He also knew your father would avoid stopping her. Justin folded his hands behind his neck. Isaac hadn't forgotten him. That knowledge should have settled something. Instead, it opened every part of the wound at once. His grandfather had planned carefully enough to buy a house, create a trust, hide papers, alter Belle, and leave a trail of witnesses. He had also watched Justin struggle for years without explaining any of it. Why wait until he died? Justin asked. Sophia read the first page again. Jordan may know. He could have told me. Yes. He let me think I had nowhere. He was afraid the wrong people would learn. I was living with him. I know. Elijah turned from the window. Isaac could build around a problem for 6 months instead of having one hard conversation. Justin almost laughed. Nothing about the sentence was funny, but it sounded exactly right. He gathered the trust, deed, letter, photographs, token, and torn page. The torn corner matched the lower edge of a copy in the folder. Isaac had removed just enough to point toward the property without giving away the address. Sophia called Jordan from the office. He was in court and couldn't speak until late afternoon. His assistant told them to secure the documents and bring them to his office the next morning. They photographed everything before removing it. Sophia signed a note recording what had been found, where, and who had been present. Elijah added the time. Justin placed the folders in a document case Sophia had brought. On the drive back, they passed Clay Street. Justin asked Elijah to slow down. 612 was a modest 2-story house with pale green siding and white trim. The front porch leaned slightly toward one corner. Tall weeds crowded the walkway. A paper notice was taped inside the front window. The house didn't look like a fortune. It looked closed. Justin watched it through the truck window until the next block hit it. When they reached the workshop, a silver car stood in the drive. Cindy and Taylor were waiting beside it. Taylor wore sunglasses despite the overcast sky. Cindy held a large brown envelope under one arm. Elijah parked near the shed. "You want me there?" he asked. "Yes." Justin carried the locked document case into the workshop and placed it beneath Elijah's desk. Then he went outside. Cindy smiled as though the visit had been arranged. "We've been trying to reach you. My phone was off. Jonathan told us about the appraisal." Justin looked at Taylor. "Did he tell you where I was?" "He said you'd probably be here," Taylor replied. Cindy held out the envelope. "We'd like to resolve the Carousel issue before it creates more tension." "What issue?" "The auction price didn't reflect Belle's value." "That isn't my fault. Nobody said it was." "You called her ruined." "She appeared ruined." Taylor walked toward the shed. Elijah stepped into her path. "Customers stay in the marked area," he said. "I'm family, not mine." Cindy pulled a typed agreement from the envelope. "We're offering you $5,000. Justin glanced at the paper. The collector offered 12. Taylor removed her sunglasses. "You already have a buyer?" "No." Cindy's smile disappeared. "Then 5,000 is generous for something worth 12. The company has the stronger connection to the horse. We're trying to keep her in the family. She is in the family. You know what I mean." Justin did. Cindy saw the company as Jonathan's last chance to prove Isaac wrong. She saw every object connected to Isaac as something that could either support that future or threaten it. Taylor's cash gift meant security for her daughter. Belle's new value meant money that had escaped their control and landed with Melanie's son. It wasn't enough for Justin to receive nothing. He also had to remain the person who needed their permission. Cindy lowered her voice. "Your father inherited a business with serious obligations. That horse came from company storage. Selling it privately while Jonathan is trying to keep the company alive would look terrible. I bought it from the company for $15. That was all anyone offered, because nobody was told what it was. Nobody knew." Cindy glanced toward Elijah. Somebody knew enough to buy it. Justin felt the accusations settle between them. Taylor said, "We're giving you $5,000 for spending 15. "Why are you making this difficult?" "Because it's mine." Cindy folded the agreement. "Isaac spent years giving you special treatment because he felt guilty about Melanie. Jonathan watched his own father turn you into another chance to get things right. Now Jonathan inherits the debts, and you walk away with the one thing collectors suddenly want." There it was, plain at last. Justin thought of the letter beneath Elijah's desk. "I'm not selling Belle." Cindy returned the agreement to the envelope. "The auction sale can still be challenged." "Then challenge it." Taylor put her sunglasses back on. "You really should think before you say things like that." They got into the silver car. Justin stood beside Elijah as it backed down the drive. Elijah waited until it turned onto the road. "You know she will." Justin looked toward the workshop, where Isaac's letter rested beside the first proof that he had somewhere to go. "I know," he said. Jordan cleared 2 hours the next morning. His office occupied the second floor above an insurance agency near the square. Justin arrived with Sophia and Elijah. The document case stayed locked until Jordan closed the conference room door. Jordan read the trust first. He checked the notary seal, page numbers, signatures, and recording information. Then he examined the deed and Isaac's letter. "You prepared this," Justin said. "Yes. You knew yesterday what we'd found." "I suspected. I couldn't confirm it over the phone. You knew Grandpa owned the house. I knew the trust owned it. And you sat at the will reading, while they told me I got nothing." Jordan rested both hands on the table. "I told you there wasn't a distribution to you under the will. That was accurate. You knew there was something outside it. I knew Isaac had created this trust in 2019. I did not know whether it remained funded. What does that mean? It means a trust agreement by itself isn't enough. The property had to be transferred into it. I prepared the deed and sent it for recording, but Isaac insisted on keeping the original records. Before I could tell you the trust was active, I needed a current title search and confirmation that he hadn't later transferred or sold the house. You could have said that. I should have told you I was checking." Justin sat back. Jordan didn't offer an excuse. He opened a file from his own cabinet and removed a copy of the original trust. It matched the document from Doty Road. Isaac appointed himself trustee while he was alive, Jordan said. I was named successor trustee upon his death. You are the sole beneficiary. The trust says you have the right to occupy the house, and it directs me to transfer title to you once the required death records and tax filings are complete. How long does that take? Usually weeks, not years. Can Cindy stop it? Not by contesting the will. The house didn't belong to Isaac when he died. It belonged to the trust. What about Jonathan? He has no authority over it. Sophia folded her hands on the table. Was there ever a mortgage? The house was purchased without one. Justin looked at the trust again. Where did the money come from? Isaac's personal funds. I reviewed the source before the closing. Nothing came from the company. Elijah leaned forward. What's the place worth? I'm not an appraiser. A recent tax assessment places it below market, but comparable homes suggest roughly $140,000, depending on condition. Justin stared at him. The number didn't resemble anything in his life. It was more than 100 times what he earned in a good month. It was enough to make the house sound less real. Jordan slid another paper across the table. I requested this yesterday evening. It was a current county property record. The owner was listed as the Isaac Mitchell Irrevocable Property Trust. The legal description matched the deed from the cabinet. No later transfer appeared. So this proves it, Justin said. It proves the deed was recorded and remains in the trust's name. My file proves the trust was properly executed. Isaac's letter explains his purpose, though the trust doesn't depend on the letter to be valid. And the paper in Bell? It led you to the originals. Legally, we could establish the trust without the horse once we knew to search for it. Justin touched the torn edge of the document fragment. Then why does Bell matter? Because Isaac worried records might be missed, removed, or misunderstood. The horse created a second trail. The token, the matching page, the cabinet combination, and the letter connect his instructions to his own actions. Elijah said, and I can connect the panel to his hand. Jordan nodded. Amanda's findings help establish that too. Justin looked toward the window. From the conference room, he could see the courthouse roof 2 blocks away. What happens now? I'll obtain certified copies from the recorder, file the notice of Isaac's death required by the trust, and arrange insurance. Then we inspect the house. I want the papers somewhere Cindy can't reach. They'll remain here. I'll also place digital copies in secure storage. She threatened to challenge the auction. That concerns Belle, not the house. She thinks there was some scheme to buy valuable property for $15. Was there? No. Then keep every receipt, photograph, message, and auction document. Don't alter the hidden compartment further until Amanda completes her report. What can Cindy actually do? An interested party can ask the probate court to review the sale. There's a statutory window of 90 days for this kind of challenge. Asking isn't the same as winning. She has Jonathan's money now. She has access to estate resources only for proper estate purposes. A private fight over Belle may be another matter. Jordan made copies of Justin's auction receipt, bidder registration, and the guild report. He asked Sophia and Elijah to write separate accounts of opening the cabinet. He also asked Justin to write down every contact from his family while the conversations were fresh. For the first time, the pieces weren't only clues. They were records other people could test. Jordan placed the original trust and deed into a fireproof file. Then he handed Justin a key. It was silver, with a square piece of masking tape around the top. 612 was written on it in Isaac's handwriting. You can enter the house as beneficiary with my authorization, Jordan said. Don't move in until the utilities and insurance are handled. I'd like to see it first. Justin closed his hand around the key. They met at Clay Street that afternoon. Jordan brought a title report and a folder of property records. Elijah brought a flashlight, a voltage tester, and a toolbox. Sophia brought cleaning cloths, bottled water, and enough sandwiches for twice as many people. The key stuck in the front lock. Elijah leaned his shoulder against the door while Justin turned it. The deadbolt released with a hard click. A stale, closed smell came out first. The living room held a couch covered in a white sheet, 2 wooden chairs, and a small table. Dust lay across the floorboards. The windows were intact. A water stain marked one corner of the ceiling, but felt dry. Justin walked through slowly. The kitchen had older cabinets painted cream. A calendar from 2019 hung beside the refrigerator. No dates were marked. The refrigerator was empty and unplugged. Upstairs were 2 bedrooms and a narrow bathroom with green tile. One bedroom faced the street. The other looked over a backyard crowded with weeds. The house was modest, exactly as the letter said. It also had a solid roof, working windows, copper pipes that hadn't been stripped, and no motel clerk waiting for another payment. Elijah tested the basement stairs before letting anyone follow. The basement was dry. The electrical panel had been updated. A newer furnace stood beside an older water heater. This wasn't abandoned, Elijah said. Somebody maintained it. Jordan checked the records. Isaac paid a local service twice a year. The last inspection was in January. Why didn't anyone notice after he died? Justin asked. The service billed automatically. The account stopped when his bank records were frozen. Sophia opened the back door to let fresh air through. A city notice had been taped inside the front window because the grass exceeded the allowed height. Justin removed it and read the deadline. I'll cut it today. You don't own a mower, Elijah said. There's one in the garage. The mower had flat tires and old fuel. Elijah got it running after cleaning the carburetor. Justin spent the next hour cutting grass that reached above his knees in places. Sophia cleared dead mail from the porch. Jordan photographed each room and called the insurer from the kitchen. Neighbors watched without coming over. Near the back fence, Justin found a small apple tree buried in vines. It had been pruned once, years earlier, then left alone. 3 hard green apples hung from the highest branch. He shut off the mower and listened to the quiet. The house needed paint, plumbing checks, a new water heater, and repairs to the porch. None of that frightened him. Repairs had edges. They could be measured, priced, and done one at a time. Family uncertainty had never worked that way. When they finished, Jordan locked the front door and gave the key back to Justin. The certified deed should be ready next week, he said. Until then, tell as few people as possible. Cindy already thinks Belle is hiding something. She doesn't know what. Justin put the key on the same ring as his motel key. That evening, he returned to Elijah's workshop and opened a new binder. He placed the auction receipt in the first sleeve. Amanda's preliminary report went behind it. Next came photographs of Belle's sealed plug, the cavity, the token, the torn deed corner, the filing cabinet, and the folders exactly as they had been found. He added Sophia's written account and Elijah's statement. The copied trust and deed went in last. Elijah watched from the other side of the bench. Isaac told you to put the pieces together, he said. Justin closed the rings. He also thought they might try to take them apart. A certified envelope arrived from the county recorder 6 days later. Justin opened it at Jordan's conference table. The recorded deed bore the county seal. Attached to it was Jordan's signed certification that the trust remained valid, irrevocable, and funded with the Clay Street property. Justin read his own name under sole beneficiary. Jordan gave him 2 certified sets. One remained in the office safe. Justin carried the other back to the workshop and locked it in Elijah's file cabinet. He had just finished when a process server pulled into the drive. The woman stepped out with a large envelope. Justin Mitchell? Yes. She handed it to him and asked him to sign. The first page carried the name of the probate court. Cindy had filed a motion asking the judge to void the $15 auction sale and return Belle to the estate. Justin read the motion standing beside the workshop door. Cindy claimed the auction had been unfair because Belle's artistic value wasn't disclosed. She claimed Justin had possessed special family knowledge and used it to buy company property at a price no reasonable seller would accept. She also claimed the auctioneer shouldn't have allowed a disinherited heir to bid without written approval from the estate. The word disinherited appeared 4 times. Elijah read the pages after him. She wants the horse, he said. She wants the panel. She doesn't know what was inside. She knows I wouldn't sell. Jordan told Justin not to call Cindy or Jonathan. He helped Justin retain a local probate lawyer and began preparing to testify about the trust. Amanda completed her written provenance report. Sophia signed a formal statement. Elijah made a cast of the knife marks inside Belle's panel and photographed the matching cuts on her saddle repair. Justin kept working. The Carousel's motor couldn't be saved. Floodwater had ruined the windings and eaten through part of the housing. Elijah found a replacement motor from a retired kiddie ride, but it needed a custom mounting plate. Justin cut the plate 3 times before it fit. On the first attempt, he drilled the holes too close to the edge. On the second, he measured from the wrong side. Elijah placed both failed pieces on a shelf. You keeping those to embarrass me? Justin asked. I'm keeping them, so you remember metal costs money. The third plate sat level. They removed the broken canopy and labeled every reusable part. Amanda approved a conservation plan for Belle's paint. The original roses would be cleaned and stabilized. Missing areas would be filled without pretending they had never been damaged. Justin liked that approach. Near the end of September, Sophia called while he was replacing a porch board at Clay Street. Is Taylor with you? No, she's at the Doty Road office. Justin set down the pry bar. How do you know? The yard caretaker called me. She told him Jonathan sent her for tax files. Did he? I called Jonathan. He says no. Justin drove there with Jordan. Taylor's car stood inside the gate. The office door was open. The new lock Jordan had placed on the filing cabinet lay on the floor. Taylor came out holding an empty file folder. She stopped when she saw them. What are you doing? Justin asked. Looking for company records. With a pry bar? The tool leaned against the cabinet behind her. Taylor held up the folder. There's nothing here. Because we removed the legal records. Her eyes narrowed. What legal records? Jordan stepped between them. Leave the folder on the desk. My mother is an estate beneficiary. That doesn't authorize you to enter secured files. The door was open. The cabinet wasn't. Taylor dropped the folder on the desk. You're hiding something, she said to Justin. Nobody fights this hard over a broken ride. You filed the fight. My mother filed it because you cheated the estate. What were you looking for? Taylor walked past him. Jordan photographed the broken lock and called Jonathan. Justin listened as his father insisted he hadn't given Taylor permission. Jonathan sounded angry, but most of the anger was directed at the trouble rather than the person who caused it. The caretaker changed the office lock that afternoon. 2 days later, Justin arrived at Clay Street and found Taylor on the front porch with a locksmith. She had told him she'd lost her key to a family property. The locksmith was checking her identification when Justin pulled up. This is my house, Justin said. Taylor turned. Your house? The locksmith stepped away from the door. Justin held up his key. You need to leave. Taylor looked through the front window. The living room walls had been cleaned, and paint samples marked one corner. Justin's folding table stood beneath the window beside a lamp and 2 mugs. How did you get this place? That's not your business. It belonged to Isaac. What makes you think that? I followed you from Elijah's. She said it without embarrassment. Justin took out his phone and photographed her car, the locksmith's van, and the untouched door. Taylor came down the steps. Mom thinks there were papers in the horse. Your mother thinks a lot of things. Was there a deed? Justin kept his face still. She had guessed, or she had found the word, on the empty folder at Doty Road. She didn't know the address was held by a trust. She only knew Justin had gone from a weekly motel to repairing a closed house. Taylor watched him carefully. You found something, she said. Justin unlocked the front door. You should go. We're going to find out in court. I know. He went inside and locked the door behind him. Jordan added both incidents to the hearing file. The locksmith provided a written account. The yard caretaker did the same. A camera over the office entrance showed Taylor carrying the pry bar inside. Cindy didn't withdraw the motion. Instead, her lawyer amended it. The new papers accused Justin of concealing material found inside estate property and asked the court to order Belle surrendered for inspection. Justin's lawyer advised him not to answer the accusation in public filings beyond denying wrongdoing. The trust documents remained secured. Cindy still didn't know what they said. The hearing took place in October. Justin arrived early with Elijah, Sophia, Amanda, Jordan, and 2 document cases. Belle couldn't be brought into the courtroom, but Amanda had prepared enlarged photographs showing the carving marks, hidden panel, token, and torn deed corner. Cindy entered with Taylor and Jonathan. They sat at the opposite table. Jonathan looked toward Justin once. Cindy whispered something, and he faced forward again. The judge entered. Everyone stood. Cindy's lawyer spoke first. He described the auction as a serious failure of disclosure. He said Belle had been sold as scrap when she was actually a valuable original carving. He said Justin had a personal history with the horse and might have known facts unavailable to ordinary bidders. Then Cindy took the witness chair. Her lawyer asked whether she had believed the carousel was worthless at the time of sale. I believed it was damaged company equipment, she said. When did that change? When an expert appraisal appeared online. Did Justin disclose that he intended to seek an appraisal? No. Did he disclose a hidden compartment in the horse? No. Did he disclose finding company documents inside it? No. Justin's lawyer rose. Objection. Assumes facts not established. The judge looked at Cindy's lawyer. Lay the foundation. He asked Cindy why she believed documents had been found. Because Justin's behavior changed, she said. He refused a fair offer. He began visiting company offices. Then he suddenly gained access to a house connected to Isaac. Her lawyer placed the $5,000 offer into evidence. Why did you make this offer? To keep Belle with the company and avoid conflict. Was $5,000 substantially more than Justin paid? Yes. Did he refuse? Yes. Cindy looked toward Justin. He wanted whatever Isaac hid more than he wanted a fair price. Her lawyer asked what she wanted the court to do. I want the sale voided. I want Belle returned, including everything found inside her. If Isaac hid company assets or property records, they belong with the estate until a court decides otherwise. There was no hesitation left. Cindy had moved beyond arguing that the auction price was low. She was claiming the cavity, its contents, and any property those contents revealed. Taylor testified next. She admitted entering the Doty Road office, but said she believed she had family permission. She admitted going to Clay Street, but said she was trying to protect a property Isaac might have purchased with company funds. Why did you believe company money was involved? Her lawyer asked. Because Justin doesn't have money for a house. Did he explain how he gained access? No. Did he show you a deed? No. Did he show you trust papers? No. The word trust made Cindy turn toward Taylor. Taylor continued. He kept everything secret. On cross-examination, Justin's lawyer asked whether Taylor had known about Belle's cavity before Amanda's report. No. Had you ever asked to buy Belle before the auction? No. Did anyone prevent you from bidding? No. Did your mother bid? No. Did Jonathan bid? No. Taylor's voice sharpened. We didn't know he had information? What information did he have when he raised his card? Taylor looked at Cindy. I don't know. Jonathan took the witness chair last. He confirmed that the auction had been publicly advertised and professionally conducted. He confirmed that Justin had registered properly. He also confirmed that no rule barred family members from bidding. Cindy stared at him. Her lawyer asked whether Jonathan would have approved the $15 sale if he had known Belle was an authenticated Isaac Mitchell carving. No, Jonathan said. Do you believe your son knew? Jonathan looked across the room. I believe he loved the horse. That wasn't my question. No, Jonathan said. I don't believe he knew what she was worth. Cindy's face went still. Her lawyer ended the questioning quickly. Then he asked the court to void the sale, order Belle returned, and require Justin to surrender every item found in the cavity. The judge reviewed her notes. Counsel for Mr. Mitchell, she said. You may present your response. Justin's lawyer stood. We'll begin with the reason none of those demands can reach the Clay Street property. Jordan took the witness chair and identified the trust. Cindy's lawyer stood. When was that document created? In 2019, years before the auction? Yes. And what property does it hold? The house at 612 Clay Street. Jordan opened the certified county record. Isaac purchased the house with personal funds. The deed transferred it into an irrevocable trust. Justin is the sole beneficiary. Cindy leaned toward her lawyer. Taylor stared at Justin. Does the Carnival Company own any part of that house? Justin's lawyer asked. No. Did Isaac's estate own it when he died? No. Could anything found inside Belle transfer the house out of the trust? No. The torn deed corner was a clue. The recorded deed established ownership years earlier. Jordan explained it plainly. The horse hadn't given Justin the house. Isaac had already done that. Belle's hollow body had held part of the house deed, and that fragment led Justin to the complete documents. Cindy's lawyer asked whether the trust could have been created to defeat the will. It predates the will dispute by years, Jordan said. It was validly executed, funded, and recorded, Elijah testified next. He showed the judge Isaac's taped carving knife, the late repair beneath Belle's saddle, and enlarged photographs of the hidden panel. Who made that cavity? Justin's lawyer asked. Isaac did. How can you be certain? I worked beside him for 30 years. His knife pulled left after he hurt his thumb. The same pull appears inside that panel. He also carved a 5-point star where nobody would see it. He did that on private work. Sophia carried her old calendar to the witness chair. She explained Isaac's request for Melanie's payment records. She read the sentence she had written beside the token's date, making it right, but not the way they'd expect. Cindy's lawyer asked whether Isaac had specifically told her about a house. No. So, you're guessing what he intended? No. His letter says what he intended. I'm telling you what he did before the letter was found. Amanda authenticated Belle last. She explained the layout marks, flower pattern, chisel widths, and surviving original paint. She also explained that Justin hadn't known Belle's collector value when he bid. Neither did anyone else, Amanda said. That's why the discovery mattered. Could she be worth more than $12,000? Cindy's lawyer asked. After careful restoration, possibly. So, the estate suffered a loss. Amanda looked toward Belle's auction photograph. The estate offered an unidentified object at a public sale. Everyone present had the same chance to examine it. Hidden value discovered afterward doesn't make the buyer dishonest. Justin then took the witness chair. His lawyer handed him the brass token. What did you know when you bought Belle? That she was the horse I rode when I was young. I knew the motor was ruined and the base was rusted. Did you know about the cavity? No. The trust? No. The Clay Street house? No. Why did you spend your last $15? Justin looked toward Jonathan. Because Belle was the one thing from that place that had ever felt like mine. Cindy's lawyer approached. You concealed what you found? I secured it. You didn't tell the estate. I took it to Sophia, then Jordan. Jordan was the estate attorney and the successor trustee. You told Taylor the Clay Street house was yours. After she followed me there with a locksmith. Taylor shifted in her chair. Justin's lawyer entered the office video, the caretaker's statement, and the locksmith's account. Cindy hadn't known about either document before that morning. She turned toward Taylor, but the judge spoke first. Miss Mitchell, entering a locked filing cabinet and attempting access to a house you don't own are not ways to preserve estate property. Taylor looked down. I thought Justin was hiding assets. He was protecting records from someone trying to take them. The judge reviewed the auction terms and certified deed. The court finds no evidence that Justin Mitchell knew Belle's value before the sale. He registered properly, bid publicly, and paid the requested amount. His family relationship did not make him ineligible. Cindy's hands closed around the edge of the table. The motion to void the auction sale is denied. Belle and her carousel remain Justin Mitchell's property. The judge lifted the trust certification. The Clay Street house was never part of Isaac Mitchell's probate estate. The recorded deed and trust established that clearly. No beneficiary under the will has a claim to it. The gavel came down once. Cindy remained seated while papers moved around her. She had committed fully to the claim that anything Isaac left Justin should return to the estate. The public record now showed why it could not. Jonathan approached Justin in the hallway. I didn't know about the house, he said. I believe you. That doesn't make the rest better. No. Jonathan looked through the courtroom doors. Cindy was speaking sharply to her lawyer. Taylor stood alone near the windows. I should have stopped her before it got here, Jonathan said. You should have stopped her at the dining table. Jonathan nodded. He didn't ask for forgiveness. Justin didn't offer it. 3 weeks later, Jonathan brought Isaac's blue toolbox to Clay Street. He placed it inside the front door. Cindy says it belongs to the estate. What do you say? Jonathan looked at the worn handle. I heard Dad give it to you. Justin carried the box inside. You can come by, he said. Call first. It wasn't peace. It was a boundary with a door in it. By November, the house had heat, fresh cream paint in the kitchen, and a repaired porch. Sophia brought curtains she had shortened herself. Jordan completed the trust transfer and handed Justin a recorded deed bearing his name. Justin placed it in a fireproof box. He framed Isaac's letter, but kept it turned toward the wall until he was ready to read it without becoming angry. At the workshop, Belle's restoration continued one careful section at a time. Justin cleaned the roses with cotton swabs. Elijah repaired the cracked rear hoof and showed him how to fit new wood without removing Isaac's tool marks. They rebuilt the canopy from the original pattern. The replacement motor turned the platform too quickly at first, so Justin changed the gearing. Martin called again and offered more money. Justin stood beside Belle while he answered. She isn't for sale. What if I loan her to the guild for an exhibit? Amanda asked later. That depends. Does she come home afterward? In writing, Justin agreed to a short winter exhibit after the restoration. Belle had value beyond what one collector would pay. People could see Isaac's work, the flood damage, and the repair that preserved both. In December, Elijah wired the restored coin mechanism. Justin dropped the old brass token into the slot. "Not that one," Elijah said. Justin caught it before it fell through. He used a quarter instead. The motor started. Belle moved in a slow circle beneath the rebuilt striped canopy. Her restored glass eye caught the workshop light. The original roses remained worn at their edges. Nothing had been painted to look newer than it was. The music box played the same thin tune Justin remembered. Elijah stood at the bench with his arms folded. "Speed's right," he said. "That's all. The canopy pulls left." Justin laughed. "You could say she looks good. She looks good. The canopy still pulls left." They fixed it together. A week later, a small amusement museum hired them to restore 2 damaged rounding boards. Elijah added Justin's name to the business account and ordered a new sign, Mitchell and Watts Carousel Works. Isaac's name remained in the craft, but Justin's hands now had a place beside it. If stories about young people rebuilding a life after family betrayal matter to you, subscribe and return for the next inheritance story. On the last evening of the year, Justin carried 2 mugs of coffee through the back door at Clay Street. Elijah was in the garage measuring the first museum panel. Belle stood beneath a clean canvas nearby, home from the Guild exhibit. Snow had settled along the porch rail. The apple tree was bare, but its branches had been pruned for spring. Justin switched on the kitchen light. Warm yellow squares fell across the yard and reached the garage doors. His key rested in the lock. His boots stood on the mat. Inside, the blue toolbox waited beside tomorrow's work. For once, nothing in the house looked borrowed.